Now let's talk about the process involved in the data science, right? So we are going to talk about data science process, which is a hypothesis driven. So in any data science application related to any domain, we have a question which we are trying to resolve, or the question for which we are trying to find our answer. And in order to solve, so this is basically the problem or the question which we are trying to resolve or solve here through data science. And for this we have some data. We are basically acquiring some data or gathering some data related to our problem or question, and then we are doing some exploratory data analysis on it, right? We are exploring the data so that we can understand the underlying properties of the data, and then we are trying to formalize a model, and we are doing some formal modeling on the basis of that data, so that the reason of doing this formal modeling is to acquire some interpretations or some related or useful information from the data, which is then being communicated, and then at the end we will be able to generate some results or some insights of the problem which we are trying to solve, right? So these are the basic blocks which are very at very abstract level in this figure. Now let's see the concrete details of each block which we use in the data science process. So in this figure you can see that most of the blocks are from the previous slide, but they are in much more details, and we have much more information about each process here. So in the data science process, the initial thing is to have some data sources related to the problem which we are trying to solve, right? And those data sources can be internal data sources, and they can also be external data sources, right? For example, if you are trying to solve a problem related to a firm, then that firm can have some data. They can have some their internal data which you can use, and you can also have some external data from some other open source repositories, and you can use the internal and external data in order to solve that problem. So this is the very basic and first step in a data science process. It's called data gathering or data acquisition, and it can involve both the internal data as well as the external data. Then the next step, which is of critical importance, is to clean the data, right? Because the second step is the data cleaning step, and we need to perform the data cleaning step in most of times in most of the applications. So the target is to correct the faulty and missing data which is present in the original data set, right? Because initially when we acquire this data can have missing values. This data can also have redundant values. Or for example, you are working on a surveillance application, and you have installed a number of video cameras, and you are capturing real-time videos from those video cameras. In that case, the acquired data from the cameras can be blurry. It can have certain kind of noises. It can have some distortion in it, right? So in that case, this data will not be in a very good shape so that it could be processed further. So in order to refine it, in order to make it more suitable for the further processes, we need to do this data cleaning thing, and we basically do some pre-processing techniques in this process, and the basic target is basically to remove the faultiness of the data and to improve the quality of the data, right? And this can be done with a number of numerous techniques which we will be discussing in the later videos. The third thing is basically to enrich the data, right? So we have cleaned the data. Now we want data to be enriched so that we can have good results, or we can have good analytics from that. And in order to enrich the data, we basically combine it with different features, and those features are also being extracted from the data but those are vital features and important features, and those features play a very big role in order to generate useful insights from the data. So we will also discuss this feature extraction phase from the data later on in upcoming videos. But this is both these phases, the data cleaning phase as well as the data enrichment phase, both these phases are of vital importance. And once we have the data in a very good form, the next thing which we can do is we can apply some machine learning models or some advanced algorithms in order to generate some advanced analytics, right? So the advanced analytics is the phase in which we use and we perform machine learning models and deep learning algorithms on the data which was initially cleaned and enriched, right? And these models basically train on these data sets, and based on their training they can perform some predictive tasks or classification tasks, right? So this is a very important and major field within the data science, and we will have some detailed discussion on numerous machine learning and deep learning algorithms in the upcoming topics. So once we have these models designed and executed on the data, then they result in some analysis or visualizations, right? So we generate some results through the machine learning models, and we basically have some visualization techniques here or some dashboard here which help us to understand the results that are being generated from those machine learning models, right? So we can also use some third parties libraries in order to have some fast visualizations or dynamic alerts from the data, and we can design different interactive dashboards which could help us to visualize the results. And once we have these results, they help the individuals or the companies in order to make the informed decisions for their businesses, or they can also help the individuals to react quickly for certain events, and they can also help for some proactive monitoring, right? So all these phases, these 6 phases are the core components of data science process, right? So for any data science application, we will be following the same processes, the same procedure, but these processes or procedures can vary a little bit based on the data set, because if we have some different data set, we might need some different pre-processing techniques, or we might need some different machine learning algorithms, but the overall the flow will remain the same. However, based on the domain or based on the underlying data, we might change the inner details of each process. So enable analytical strategy case study. Let's have a case study in which we will understand these things, and that case study is related to a traffic scenario.